Hello, 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 everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending on where you're watching it or what time that you're watching this broadcast. I bring you greetings from the United States, from the great state of Michigan, also known as the Mitten State. And you are watching Get Into It live chats where we are talking about cancer conversations. But you know what? Today's episode is actually special because we are broadening our horizons and we're going to talk about domestic violence because not only is October Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but we're also talking about domestic violence awareness as well. But I am your host, Kimberly Willis, and I am not only a stage 1, a stage 2, but I'm a stage 3 breast cancer survivor. And I'm your wellness advocate. I bring you different things such as books to be able to give you hope and inspiration. And speaking about books, did you get my new one? This just dropped earlier this month. So make sure that you get that. And you might ask, where do I get that? Right there at survivorscorner.net, or make sure you follow me at Instagram, which is survivors_corner, or on Facebook, Survivors Corner, or on YouTube, Survivors Corner. So again, I offer inspirational shirts, just whatever. Look, I'm your hookup. Just make sure you're following the site that I that I have listed there. But enough about me. I want to get ready to get into our guest. And before I read her bio, I want to make sure that you're taking the opportunity to like, comment, and share this episode. We know there's a ton of people that is touched by cancer, but then we also know there is quite a few people that are touched by a domestic violence situation, and unfortunately, some are uncomfortable about being vocal about that. So this episode is really important. So make sure that you like, comment, and share that. We want to be interactive and just kind of like get into it. So, with that being said, I would like to introduce you to Melissa Walker Johnson. She also earned she is her mission and motivation is to empower the world and with resources and proven systems that will enable them to apply strategies to live out their purpose, to encourage through literacy works that will ignite a flame within to equip and motivate a more victorious life. Melissa Walker Johnson is the president and founder of Wow Ministries, LLC, a ministry created to inspire the world through the teaching, the preaching, the speaking, interviewing, coaching, and literary work. Her work is multifaceted as her gifts and talents are specifically centered in inspiring and influencing the world to worship over worry. In 2020, she expanded her brand to include the Wow Coaching and Consultant, a life coaching company created to assist clients on their journey from pain to purpose. I like that. In 2021, she received her certification as a life coach, and she is also an ordained and a licensed minister in the state of Michigan, whoop, whoop, and in North Carolina. And let's fast forward a little bit in this bio. Listen, she is the author of several books. In 2018, she published her first of many books entitled 7 Weapons to Defeat Worry. And listen, we can go on and on what she does. She is a woman who obviously wears many of hats, but I would like to introduce you to Melissa Johnson. Hey, sis.
Hello.
How are you doing?
So happy to be here.
Yes. So you said that you have a special poem for us today. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes, a whisper, a yell, an outburst of anger consumed my world. The thought of following the plan and waking up in fear for 20 plus years. Now the fairy tale has turned into a nightmare. How could this be when I yielded on my knees in reverence? I forsook all to cleave and become one flesh. And now there is only me, walking away from the fame, financial securities, and the fear of the unknown. Today, I am starting anew. I never would have thought my joy would turn into pain and my tears would soak my pillow with sorrow every night. Pain is real, but it's not the end of your story. And it wasn't the end of my story. The power within ignited a flame so hot that the passion exuded out in publications, prolific writings, pain to purpose, coaching programs, podcasts, and interviews, preaching, teaching, conferences, and the empowerment of inspiring a world is now my story. Wow. From hitting rock bottom to standing strong, proclaiming, there is purpose on the other side of deep rooted pain. I now have a new dream that drives my passion.
I love that. Listen, when we go in those cafes, we have to snap our fingers to the poems. I absolutely love that.
Yes.
We heard some of the professional things that you're doing, and we're going to really dive into your testimony and talk about how all of your different entities have came to fruition. But tell us a little bit more about who is Melissa.
Well, Melissa Johnson, first and foremost, is a child of the Most High.
Yes.
I am I always call, I always say I'm a ministry girl. I've been a Christian, I've been a follower of Jesus Christ since I was a little girl. I grew up in church. I've loved God all of my life. I've surrendered my life to Him. So that's who I am, first and foremost.
Mhm.
I am a follower of Jesus Christ. I am a proclaimer of His gospel, and I love Him, and that's who I am. And everything else flows from that. He's given me gifts. He's given me talents. He's given me these abilities to show forth His love in the world. And I just try to be obedient to His calling on my life.
Love it. Love it.
Mhm.
So, with this also being Domestic Violence Awareness Month,
Mhm.
and with you having such a close tie to that,
Mhm.
help us dive into your testimony and how you got the strength to even talk about it.
Very, 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 very tough for me. Again, I'm someone who loves God and loves His people, and try the best to my ability to follow that plan. I never thought that I would wake up and be in the situation that I was in.
Mhm.
Um, I can just remember the first instance of when it happened. It was 6 months into my marriage, and I had to stop and think, is this happening to me? I was extremely devastated. Didn't see any signs. Didn't know that the person that I just married had issues with anger. Had anger issues. I didn't know how deep it would go, but at that moment, I felt extremely deceived and didn't really know what to do. But I knew for me, divorce was not an option. So I hung in there. Um, and it didn't get better. For me, it did not get better. Um, I would like to say that my testimony is my journey, and it is not to degrade my ex-husband, who is the father of my child, or to shame him in any kind of way. I would like to just share the journey that I had to endure.
Mhm.
And in that journey, it was extremely dark for me. And I hit a place, Kim, where I could not see the light. And I didn't know if I was going to ever see the light. I felt
Mhm.
that this was my plight in life and that I would have to endure this type of pain for the rest of my life. It's a tough space to be in, especially when you're in ministry. I
Mhm.
was ordained minister. I was married to an ordained minister. We served in ministry together. Um, we had many leadership roles throughout the marriage. How could something like this happen? How
Mhm.
could something like this happen? Um, I don't know. I don't know how something like this could happen. I just know hurt people, and
Right.
it happened to me. And I didn't know what to do. And so what I did was I covered it for many years. I covered it actually throughout the whole marriage. I covered everything that I was going through. And I definitely don't want to go into all of those details, but
Mhm.
all of the things that I went through, I covered it, I hid it, I didn't expose it. Um, because I wanted my marriage to work.
Mhm.
I didn't want to divorce him, although I knew something was wrong. And at that time, I didn't know I was in an abusive relationship. I just didn't know that, Kim. I just knew that what was going on was not right. It
Mhm.
was not right, but I did not know it was a abusive relationship, and I didn't know how to reach out and ask for help, and so I just kept praying to God that He would some kind of way send help, for both of us, for me to understand him, to help him to be, a better wife, to be more understanding, to be more loving, someone that would walk with him. And I believe that there was a lot of lifelines for us. But if a person cannot see themselves, Kim, they don't see the lifeline.
Mhm.
And it got so dark and it got to a point where I couldn't hide it any longer. And I wouldn't recommend that at all. I would not recommend the choice that I made, that I thought I had to make. Um, if you can find a safe place, if you can find people that you can confide in, I would suggest going down that road versus trying to be in an island by yourself and trying to manage all of what's going on by yourself, and trying to stay secluded. It is not a good place to be in. And for me, it led me down a darker road, um, until one day I I didn't see, Kim, any hope of it changing. It got worse and it got worse to the point where I thought my life was in danger. And I had to make a tough decision, not ever wanting to divorce. I didn't marry to divorce. I
Right.
married because I loved this man and I wanted to spend the rest of my life with this man. And so for me to have to be in that position to make a decision that I never wanted was a very tough decision for me.
Mhm.
And I can imagine it's tough for many people. And I'm sure this doesn't just happen to women. I'm sure it happens to men and women. And to have to be in that place where you have to make a decision that you don't want to make is extremely hard. And when I made that decision to walk away from my marriage, it was extremely hard for me because I felt that I was letting my God down first and foremost. I was letting my child down. I never wanted my child to grow up in that type of home, never.
Right.
And I felt that I was letting my family and all of the people over the years that God allowed us to walk with and be in inner circles with and be connected with, I felt that I was letting them down.
Mhm.
That was a major burden that I had to carry. And it was extremely hard. It was extremely hard. And I spent months and months and months in my bed crying and crying because I could not believe I was in this place. I couldn't believe what had happened to me had happened to me. And I didn't know, Kim, if I had the strength to move forward. I didn't know I had the strength to move forward. And I cried so much. It was one day I'll never forget when my mom, I had to call her daily. I mean, I when I tell you I didn't think I was going to make it, I didn't think I was going to make it.
Mhm.
And I called my mom often. And then one day I called her and she said, I want you to dry your tears. I want you to stop crying. And I need you to be strong. And I need you to move forward.
Mhm.
And that hit me. And I said, God, where do I go from here? Where do I go from here? And Kim, when I left with nothing. I left with nothing but my life and trying to rebuild my life. And it was extremely hard. I thank God that I didn't have to be homeless. Someone took me in. I had one friend here in Charlotte, one, and she just happened to be a best friend, and she allowed me to stay in her room. I stayed in a small room for over a year and a half until I got myself together and was able to move forward. But it was extremely, extremely hard. And I understand women that wrestle with staying, knowing that they're in an abusive relationship because it's hard to get out and stand strong again. It's extremely hard. Not impossible, but it's extremely, extremely hard.
I truly appreciate your vulnerability. Obviously, this is still very raw for you. So I thank you for having the strength and courage to not only choose yourself, excuse me, but to also have the strength and courage to share what you're going through.
Mm,
Because to be able to relive that, I can hear it. It feels like you're replaying it in your mind. And I just thank you for just taking the time to encourage and inspire somebody who is truly going through something.
mhm,
I can only imagine what this is like dealing with this in the public eye. It's already hard enough dealing with domestic violence already, right? But
absolutely.
then to add the extra thing of being in the spotlight. And
Mm,
before we move forward, I want to make sure I put this disclaimer out there that um, things that we may talk about on this show is to not make any persons that may come up, even if there's no names mentioned, to look bad or anything. We're speaking the truth of the lens of Melissa, of our survivor, but then also um, if there's any suggestions or advice we may give, still pray about it before you take this advice, because again, we want to make sure that the advice that we may give you, the inspiration that we may give you, gives you the strength to do what is best for your situation. So I just want to make sure that we have that disclaimer out there, so those listening will be able to take these nuggets and then apply it for their life. But
yes, yes.
going back to being a Christian and dealing with domestic violence and dealing with this in the public eye, talk to us a little bit about wearing the mask. So you spoke about how you are dealing with this at home. but then on Sunday, you are not necessarily you're not fake. You're just you're defending your home. You're protecting your home. So talk about what that was like.
Yeah, the mask was a mechanism that I used to try to protect my family. And for me, Kim, I wanted to save my family. And so I did not want to expose what was going on in the home. So I wore this mask, and people actually thought that I had the perfect life, because
Wow.
what they look at, Kim, is they look on the outside. Well, you're a beautiful woman and you're married to this handsome man, and you have this beautiful child, and you have the big homes and the big cars and the money and the businesses, and you're doing extremely well, and you have the ministries, and they see us all out in public at this function and that function, and they think that everything is fine, but they don't know when you go home what is happening in your home life.
Mhm.
And the mask is to protect that image, to protect that identity, to make them think that that's who I was and that's the life that I was living. But in actuality, it was not. It was not. It was something totally different when I got home. And so I covered the mask, I wore the mask for years and years and years until I lost who I was. And the
Mhm.
mask became me because I lost myself
Mhm.
in wearing the mask. And I no longer knew who I was. And that was that's tough, because God did not design us that way,
Mhm.
and to wear masks and hide the real person of who you are. And I'll never forget this saying. I listened to a lot of successful men and women, and it's by Carla Harris. She's a big time executive at Morgan and Stanley, and she says, "Never dim your light for someone else's convenience."
Yes.
I dim my light for someone else's convenience because I wanted my marriage so bad, Kim. I was willing to do anything to save it.
Wow.
Anything to save it. I tried everything I knew how, possibly everything that I possibly knew how to do. I did that to try to save my marriage because I wanted my marriage to work.
Yeah.
I wanted it to work.
You had a commitment. You know, there's a song out there that says, "You don't know my story and all the things that I've been through." And sometimes we really don't know what people are going through. We see the Instagram pictures, the Facebook pictures, and even if you're in person about, how they're presenting, you just really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know if this person is dealing with abuse. You don't know if this person is dealing with an illness. You don't
Mhm,
know if this person is dealing with financial issues. So it's really important for the body of Christ and just really just any being, even if it's someone on your job, or anyone that you encounter, is to always show love. You should treat
mhm,
people how you would want to be treated because you just really don't someone is at their breaking point. And we just came out of suicide prevention month as well. And again, people need people to talk to, and
mhm,
hurt people, as you said, hurt people. And
mhm.
those individuals need help. They need therapy.
Right.
Uh, they need theology. They just need a combination of things. But then also the survivors need those things as well. So let's move into in your faith. We know that God is a healer and He does all things. How have you had your faith help? in your healing process?
Yes, well, thank God he healed me. Sometimes telling the story, you get a little emotional,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely, I am definitely on the other side. But it was a process. And for me, the first step was going to counseling. And I
Mm-hmm.
understood that having a counseling background, I knew I needed to talk to someone. And the main reason why I needed to talk to someone was to see if this is really real. Did this really happen? Is this abuse? Is this an abusive relationship, or am I delusional? And I needed to have that answered. And so I went to counseling, and I went to counseling for a while, and I realized that it was an abusive relationship. Now, the abuse that I suffered was not physical abuse. It was emotional. It was more emotional abuse, mental abuse. However, the the results of that, I don't know if it's any difference from someone hitting you with their hand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to have to go through um, the the verbal abuse and the emotional abuse is extremely hard when you're degraded so deep where you don't really know who you are. And again, I don't want to go into all of the details, but it's um, it's extremely tough. So I chose to go to counseling, and then from counseling, I chose an inner circle of family and friends to walk with me. And it took a village, Kim. It took a village because I was so devastated.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to talk. And I just didn't need to talk to women. I needed to talk to women and men because I needed to be in a safe place with a man to know that all men are not this
Yeah.
way. They're not this way. And so I had to have a fresh perspective from someone that was whole and someone that was healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and that someone that could really speak life back into my dead soul. And so God sent so many people into my life to help me. But I tell you, Kim, there was a point where I I pushed back from God because I felt shame, because I didn't know if one, he still loved me, and two, he would still use me because of this divorce. And I was afraid to go to him, and I was afraid to to share my heart with him. He never left me, but I left him because of my shame. And that went on for a while, a long time, until I realized, and I was reading so much devotions and listening to sermons, and I believe it was one devotion that I read, and it says, God loves you with an everlasting love, and that his love never ends no matter what happens. His love never ends. And for some reason it hit me, and I said, God, you still love me. You still have a plan for my life. And that was my turning point. And when I was able to turn back to him and ask for forgiveness, and then go through the process of forgiveness. And again, that was a process as well, because I had to go back and not only just, ask God for forgiveness, not only to forgive myself, but the people that I felt that was in my inner circle that loved me and that knew me and knew that I was a married woman and trust me as I, you know, would do marriage counseling, and
Mhm.
now I'm finding myself on the other side. I had to ask them to forgive me. And not only that, this was the hard part, Kim. I had to go back to my ex and ask him to forgive me. And that was hard because I was so angry at him. So angry at him because I felt that he took what was most precious to me from me, and I would never get that back. And I was angry at him. And it
Mm.
was one of my best friends who's a male. He told me, "You'll never get on the other side of your healing until you recognize what you did in this marriage, what you allowed in this marriage, what you allowed, because nothing could have happened unless you allowed it to happen. And you have to take ownership of that." And that was a tough word to receive.
Mhm.
But when I received that, Kim, I started changing the perspective. And I said, I allowed this to happen because I allowed to say nothing, Kim. I
Mhm.
allowed this person to speak to me that way. I allow all of this, all of these things to happen to me. Now, I guess there has to be a balance because you can't make someone do this, but yet and still I could have left. I could have did something different, but I didn't, and I stayed and I allowed this type of behavior to come into my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't decide to leave until 22 years later.
Wow. So listen, we have quite a few we have comments and people are liking. I do want to highlight one of our roses on there. Zell Randall said, "Hey sis, this is so important. Please tell her that I am proud of her for pressing through and now helping other people." Thanks, sis, for joining on today.
Thank you.
Listen, again, I commend you for what you're doing because this is so important because not everyone is transparent about this because you mentioned about that shame.
Hmm.
So talk about how encourage a survivor
Hmm.
who is feeling shameful or is feeling the same thing as you is feeling stuck. You want to make something work and they're not understanding how to put the pieces together to make the best decision for their life. How would you encourage them?
I would encourage them to find the rock. My rock was Jesus Christ. And
Mhm.
I said, when I hit bottom, when I hit rock bottom, it was his loving hands that took me and pulled me back up and let me know that I am not condemned. There is therefore now no condemnation to them that are in Christ. I realized that I was in Christ Jesus and I was not condemned, and this was not the end of my story.
Yeah.
And this is not the end of your story. And I realized that his power resided on the inside of me, and
Mhm.
that his power was greater than anything that I was going through. So I had to tap into his power to give me strength each and every day to get up and stand strong again. So I began to do what he had me to do, and that was right.
Mhm.
My power came back through my writing. I started writing again. I didn't write for years, Kim.
Mm.
I didn't do anything. I supported my husband ministry. I supported him. I supported everything he did. I put everything that God had called for me to do on hold to support and build him up. And so I didn't even know I had writing in me, Kim. I didn't know I had all these gifts and talents in me. And God started to unfold, and he unfolded it by me writing. And that's how I began to stand strong because I was able to let all of this that was in me, that was this burning passion of anger out of me. into words, into
Yeah.
words, into words, until the words of pain started shifting, started shifting to purpose, because God started healing me. He started healing me. He started healing me. He started healing me. And
Yeah.
it started to shift. And it
Yeah.
started to shift. Listen, it's not going to happen overnight. It is a process. You have to find a safe place. You have to find people that will come into that safe place to hold your hand until you're able to stand strong again. But you got to want to stand strong again. You have to want to stand strong again. You have to know who you are and the calling that God now has on your life. And
Yeah.
it's greater than anything you have gone through. It's greater. And when he says that I use all things, Kim,
Mhm.
he means that.
Yeah.
Everything that I went through, he used it for my good. Now,
Yeah.
listen, it didn't feel good going through it, but I am not the same person that I was back then.
Hmm.
So, all of those experiences, all of the things that I went through, I'm stronger today because he used that to work together for my good.
That's so good. Is there anything that you would advise family or friends who is aware that someone is going through? How are they able to um, give them advice for the survivor to make the necessary steps to make sure that they stay safe?
First and foremost, I would, if you can, reach out to your spouse, if it's a man or woman, try to encourage them to get help.
Mhm.
I did that, but the person did not see that they needed help. See if you can encourage them to get help. If you can't talk to the person, see if you can talk to people that this person will listen to,
Mhm.
and see if they can encourage that person to get help. There is healing, there is healing available. They need to get help. They need to be in counseling. They may need more than that. I am not a counselor, so I cannot prescribe that, but they need to take the steps, whatever those steps are, in order to get healing, in order to be whole
Yeah.
and to be healthy. That is the only way your marriage is going to work. That person be healed, whole, and healthy. And not only that, you have to get help so you can be healed, whole, and healthy as well, because it has affected you as an individual. It has. And you may not think it has, but it has. All of these dysfunctional behaviors, they come out as a consequence of what has gone on in that home. So you need to get help as well. And then I would say to come together and do some type of marriage counseling together.
That's good. Guys, are you liking and sharing this? Listen, someone is needs to be blessed by Melissa's testimony. Is there any uh any things that you think that was ignored or that people ignore when they go into a domestic violence situation? I know no one says, "Hey, I want to sign up for this," but is there
Well,
any
this
times?
is what I would say. I was too young at the time to see signs.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think I was healthy enough to see signs. Okay.
Yeah.
I think both of those um, made my eyes dim. as well as some people are good at hiding things, Kim.
Yeah.
And you don't see it until you step into the actual door. However, there are some signs that I will say you need to look at. And one important sign is, how was this person raised? That is so key to
Mm,
the development of that person. How was their home structure? Were you in a home with a mother and a father? How did your mom and dad get along? How did they give you love? Did they love each other? Was there abuse in the home? Was there verbal abuse, physical abuse? Were you adopted? There are signs, I say external signs like that, that can make you have a more open eye to see things that you may not see because you didn't ask that question.
mm-hmm.
Now your eyes are open to even the small things, and you're able to see signs, you're able to see triggers, you're able to see warnings, and you need to take heed to them. You need to
Yeah.
take heed to them. You don't want to love someone so much that you want to ignore those signs. Listen, you don't want to go into a marriage. I would never recommend, and I'm not going to say what you don't want to do. I'm sorry. Let me change that. I would not recommend going into a marriage and ignoring the signs that
Mm-hmm.
are being shown to you. Adhere to the signs
Yeah.
and encourage the person to get help. If this person does not want to get help, you do not want to be in an unhealthy relationship. You do not want to be in an unhealthy relationship. I don't think that is um, when, and I'm trying to think of the scripture, unequally yoked. I don't think you're being equally yoked when you're not both healthy, coming together in a healthy relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's equally yoked. I really believe that you need to seek help before you get into a relationship. It should be whole. You should be healthy. Both of you should be healthy and wholesome.
That's good. And I'll take that a step further too. When you are getting ready to get married to someone, you want to do premarital counseling, because that will also help expose, because you got a third party that's in there, and they may ask questions that you may not have even heard about or known about, and that will give you those signs too, because you have time before you get to your wedding day, to before you cross that bridge over, and just to really see, like, is this really what's in my best interest? Is this really in their best interest in that? So yeah, definitely make sure you do the counseling. And I love all the signs that you talked
Yes.
about.
Yes.
We are
And
getting ready to we have a few more minutes, and I want to
oh
make
my
sure we talk
goodness.
about, I know this hour is flying by, right? I
Yes.
want to talk about some of the things that you're doing. So you talked about how, once you broke free and everything like that, that you started writing again. And now you're like a serial author and things like that. Talk to us about writing, but then not only just writing, but taking it the next step to getting your books into the Targets, the Walmarts, and the different big box stores.
Yes, so it was all God. So my first book, it came from a small Bible group that I had. I I'm a teacher by trade, so I'm a professor of theological studies. I teach world religion at Central Texas College. So that's my heartbeat: preaching, teaching, and speaking. And so I'm going to be on some type of platform if I have to create it myself. And that's when I came to Charlotte. I created a platform and I wrote my own curriculum for our Bible study. And from that Bible study, God said, I want you to take that and I want you to write a book. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, God, I don't know nothing about writing no book. But that was my first step to of obedience. And all of the books that I write, everything that I write, it comes from my life experience and how I overcame. And then I share it with the world. And so my first book, if you can see it, I'm holding up the book now. It's called Seven Weapons. And I don't know if you can see it well or not on this
It's
screen.
going in and out, but I
Okay.
see it says "Wow" on the cover of it.
Yeah, but it's called Seven Weapons to Defeat Worry. And basically what it is how to go from a life of fear into a life of faith.
Mhm.
As God's children, He did not give us His spirit that we would walk around fearing. He gave us His spirit that we would walk in, where we would walk by faith. That is a command He has given us, to walk by faith. So, how do we get from this place of walking by fear to walking by faith?
Mm.
I shared 7 ways of doing that. And those ways freed me because I was a very fearful person. I was so fearful because why? I felt everything was in my control. I controlled it all, Kim. And you don't say that. You don't go around saying, "Oh, I control it all. I control my destiny." But that's what that's my action said that,
Yeah.
because I wanted to control it all. And when I couldn't control it all, here comes the fear. So I had to find a place where I was not walking in fear and I was walking by faith. So that's why this first book was published. And it's biblically sound, it's theologically sound. It's a great book of application that will get you from a place of fear to a place of faith, because God has not given you that spirit to fear. And I like that definition that they use for fear. It's just false evidence of the things that appear. It appears to be real. You think it's
Mhm.
real, but it's not. It's not. And so I wrote that first book, and then I came back and started writing the book called Pain to Purpose, but it was too painful for me to write. I put that down, and then I picked up a devotion book, and it's called Dreaming Big, because now I had to get to a place where I could begin to start dreaming big based on the purpose that God had given me. And then after that, I was encouraged to get certified as a life coach.
Mhm.
And I went on that journey, and that journey was all about my journey from pain to purpose. And so I came out with a curriculum for my coaching program called the Pain to Purpose. It's a curriculum and a journal, and it's a part of my coaching system called Pain to Purpose coaching system. It's a transformational system that walks with you. It's an 8-week program that will take you on this journey of not knowing who you are, your self identity, your self image, to knowing exactly who you are, and then now getting you to where God would have you to just to take over this world for His glory. So walking from pain into your purpose.
That's good. I love that. Speak to the authors for a moment about, okay, I wrote all these books. I might have them on Amazon, I might have it on my website, or you might be selling them from the trunk of your car, but I'm ready to take it up a notch and I want to get it into the big box store, without necessarily going in by step of the process. Encourage your author on the steps of what they should do to get to that next level.
Well, it's wildministriesllc.com. You can go there. You can hit book consultation. I will walk with you on a 30-minute consultation. It's free to you, and I can explain to you exactly how, if you want to self-publish your book and get your book in all of these outlets, I can definitely walk you through it. It is a process. And so it's a process that I don't think I could say in the next 1 second, but
Yeah.
I will offer that to your viewers, Kim. They can go to wildministriesllc.com, hit book consultation. There's a free 30-minute consultation. I'll be glad to walk with you through it. If you need more assistance, that's what I do for a living. And so you can book my services to walk with you through this process of writing your own book and publishing your own book.
Love it. You see the website down there, wildministriesllc.com. Can they find all of your books on this website as well?
Everything that I do is on this website. It's
Awesome.
active. It's very active. All of my programs, coaching programs, is on here. All of my podcasts is on here. All of my interviews, the Brilliant Black Man shows, are on here. All of my products are on here, and it tells you all about who I am. And also my prolific writings are on my website. So you find everything on wildministriesllc.com.
Listen, guys, you got to make sure that you head to Melissa's website. Again, wildministriesllc.com. You got a podcaster on here. You got an author here. You got just a woman of many hats. How are you able to juggle it all?
It's by his grace. He gives us what we need in the seasons that we're in. He has
Yeah.
always given me the ability to multitask.
Mhm.
So many people ask me, how do you do what you do? It's just who I am. I can never just handle one program, one little task. I've always been a person that could take on 3, 4, 5 tasks at one time. um, I'm extremely organized. I prioritize my life, and he gives me the grace to do it. And so I just believe that he has given me that talent to be able to do what he has for me to do in this season. I don't know if I'll be able to do it forever, but in this season, he
Mhm.
has given me that ability. And yes, I do rest, guys. I do rest.
That's good. That is so good. Listen, you got to make sure that you are following Melissa. So if you're on Facebook, you can go down to melissa.walkerjohnson.7 and you can follow her there. She's also on LinkedIn as well under her name, Melissa Walker Johnson. So make sure that you're following her on that platform as well. But again, guys, she just gave us a free 30-minute. If the authors that's out there, you can go onto her website, wildministriesllc.com, to be able to get that consultation on if you need to want to learn how to self-publish a book, the structure of a book, or even how to get your book into the big box stores. But don't stop there. Again, she has so much on her website that is going to bless you. I just know from following on LinkedIn, I believe that's how we connected on there as
Absolutely.
well. And I just saw that she was just doing so much that I just had to reach out to her, and we just kind of clicked from that. So don't negate the power of social media, LinkedIn, and all different networking platforms, because sometimes you'll find what I call is a divine connection, and
Divine
something that I
connection.
believe that I'm having with her as
Yeah,
well. So
yeah.
before we go, is there anything else that's coming up in your world that is new?
Well, listen, guys, this is the most exciting thing, and it's coaching, my coaching programs. And they're dear to me because I made it through to help you make it through.
Mhm.
It's pain to purpose coaching programs. Listen, wherever you at on your journey, if you're stuck, go to wildministriesllc.com. I am here for you. I am here for you. If you heard my testimony and you were able to connect with me in any way, you need to be going to wildministriesllc.com and let me walk with you. I am the safe place that you need. Wild Ministries, pain to purpose coaching programs, systems designed to help you on your journey.
Love it. Listen, you know what? It's so good that you don't have to walk alone.
No.
And listen, Melissa's going to help walk you through that. So, listen, as we get ready to close this, I thank you for opening this up and allowing Survivors Corner to me more than just in the cancer community, but open the doors into the domestic violence thing. I don't really talk about my own, but I've had to deal with that as well.
Mhm.
And it was devastating. It's really something I don't even talk about. Sometimes people think my story is just cancer, and it's not. But,
Mm.
again, you just don't know what people are going through. And I, again, commend you for doing that. I thank you to all of my roses who is watching today for this podcast. Again, if you have any questions, you can either drop it in the comments, or again, it's still up there. Hit Wild Ministry. I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face. Hit wildministriesllc.com to ask her any questions or to get any advice in your situation. I know she is going to want to bless you with that. So listen, as we get ready to come to a close, next week we have our next guest. We have Yvette Hatcher, who's going to really close it out for us for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. She is also a breast cancer survivor. So we look forward to having a great conversation, but then also guys, Survivors Corner, we got an award today, guys. I was at a breast cancer awareness and domestic violence event here in Michigan. And in fact, I'm going to bring the camera down. You see, I got the shirt on from the organization that I'm a part of. And they heard of the things that we're doing over at Survivors Corner with the cancer community. And then today, opening the doors with the domestic violence. And if you can see this, we got an award from the chief of police in the police station. So I thank you all. I cannot do what I do without you. From you guys telling your stories, for being open and transparent. I truly thank you all. And again, I thank you, Melissa, for having us here. And again, Wild Ministries, LLC.com, guys. And until next week, I hope you guys have a blessed day. Take care, guys.